Hi everyone, my name is Terry Westwell and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is Filthy Rich Vampires by Geneva Lee. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it. It won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that'll be later on in the video and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. When I originally spotted this series, I thought that it looked quite interesting, but I didn't realise at the time I actually picked up the wrong book. I think I picked up the 3rd one in the series, and I don't know, after that they just never really seemed to have the first one in stock. When I did finally find it, the guy at the store said, "Oh, just make sure that that is the first one," so it must be quite a common problem. I mean, all the covers do look fairly similar. It was a fun and easy read, and despite a few issues I had with the book, I still rated it 3.75 stars, which to be fair is on the low side for me when it comes to anything romantasy, but as usual I went into this book knowing pretty much nothing other than the obvious. The book contains vampires and they're filthy rich. I mean, I am usually a little bit hesitant when it comes to any sort of vampire books, call it millennial trauma, but at one point they seem to be everywhere and they all sort of had a varying degree of awkwardness and cringe. Okay, so quick summary. Julian Rousseau has a problem. He's single, and for the world's wealthiest vampires, the social season is about to begin. But Julian would rather stake himself than get married. But as the eldest, most eligible Rousseau, he must find himself a wife before the season ends, whether he likes it or not. When cellist Thea literally stumbles into his life at a gala, she's the last person that Julian could fall in love with. She's too innocent, too kind, and way too human. But now she knows about his world, she's also a walking target. She needs protection, and he needs a fake girlfriend to discourage any overzealous vampire matchmaking. But with each moment they share, new dangers emerge. A desire as forbidden as their secret touches, the awakening of a long-dead heart, and secrets that could tear them apart. If I had to compare this to any other book, I would probably say something like My Roommate's a Vampire or Tethered. I think it's really easy to read, quite simplistic in its writing style, but it's still very funny and sweet and has a darker twist. It also had some spice, although I wouldn't say that there were tons of it or that it went on for a particularly long time. I'd also say that in comparison to My Roommate's a Vampire, it was less of a rom-com and probably a bit darker. I'd definitely say that it's more of a romance, or I guess a paranormal romance. It doesn't really ring fantasy, and I think even for a romantasy, it doesn't have much of that fantasy plot, storyline, or world building. There was an element of politics and the sense that there might be more of it in the next few books. However, in this one at least, I would say that it was definitely more focused on the romance element. It was a nice easy read and the chapter lengths were great. I even really liked the pacing, even though I felt like not a ton happened. It also kind of felt like it was moving along quite nicely. As I said, I did have some issues with the book, and without giving anything away, I think it was a mixture between some naive writing, which did make the main character feel a lot younger than she was, but also it had some tropes that just aren't really for me. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. For anyone who read My Roommate's a Vampire and wanted something a little bit darker, maybe something that had a little bit more spice, this one's a nice, easy read that had me reaching for the next book. And will I be reading any more by Geneva Lee? Absolutely. I believe there's this series and then there's also Filthy Rich Fair, and despite a few issues I had with this book, I am looking forward to reading those ones. So earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. This is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point there will absolutely be spoilers. Okay, so I will just say it. In a world where vampire venom exists that not only seems to alter a person's state of mind, but doesn't really seem to give them much of an option but to engage sexually with the vampire, then does consent really exist? Like, sure, we know that Thea is interested in Julian, but in that moment, she's not actually able to consent, and I think because it's not ever really addressed, it just sort of gives me the ick a little. And it was almost giving like a young adult Twilight vibe. I mean, a virginity trope, was that really necessary? It's just the amount that they went on about it was weird and uncomfortable. It's a trope that I really hate. I think that it just comes across really creepy and predatory in a bad way. I mean, it did gain some points back with it being about the tethering or whatever. Like, it wasn't about her innocence or whatever nonsense, but still, it's not my favourite. I liked the story, the characters, and the romance, but I do think that there could have been more depth to it. I think the main characters just sort of spent most of their time either lusting over each other or fighting with one another. I mean, it was definitely cheesy and there were cringe moments. I mean, anytime virginity is mentioned, it does creep me out. Also, why do they never mention periods? I mean, this guy is overwhelmed by bloodlust, but what happens then? But as far as an easy paranormal romance goes, I still really enjoyed it. Sometimes books just don't need to be more complicated than they are. You know, it doesn't always need to be 600 pages and have every minute detail spelled out. Sometimes it's nice to just read something easy and enjoy it for what it is. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next, we'll be discussing Hexed by Emily McIntire, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 13th of July at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week will be the Midnight Feast, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below, along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you, and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.